All right, so let's talk about Batman Caped Crusader.
Oh,
Yeah. This is technically a spiritual successor to, the iconic classic masterpiece that is Batman the Animated Series. Still one of the
mm-hmm.
greatest TV shows, animated or otherwise, ever made, in my opinion.
Yeah.
As
Bruce
I
Tim
said,
involved and everything.
yeah, sorry, just repeat that.
Bruce Tim involved and anything and everything.
Yeah. Exactly. And this one here is actually showrun by Bruce Timm as well. So is glad to
Mm-hmm.
see him, doing his thing yet again, right? Of course, I mean, Batman the Animated Series, I mean, what more is there to say, right? This was a
Yeah.
show that really, really established who Batman was, right? Because as I said in
Yeah,
my review of the
it defined the character of our generation.
Exactly, because like what I said in my review of the '89 Batman movie, yeah, all I thought it was just power and whack, and I thought it was just the '60s Batman and the Tim Burton Batman. That was all I knew, right?
Right.
But thanks to Bruce Timm and that animated series, I was like, oh, this is what Batman is, and I really appreciated him for that. And yeah, I mean, off of that show, really, that's when I fell in love with the character of Batman, right? So, I guess it was only a matter of time, now that James Gunn is, leading the charge as far as this whole, DC revival, these new DC series, right? Whether it's live action or animated, right? Yes, it was only a matter of time till somebody come and say, you know what? Remember that show that everybody loved, that Batman show that everybody loved? Let me do that again, Joe. Let me just bring that spirit back again, right? And you have two people who, seem to be very eager to do that, right? That will be J.J. Abrams and Matt Reeves, right? Who put out
Right.
the Batman, one of my favorite movies of 2021, right? So yeah, I mean it makes sense having the two of them together on this, right? So you have Abrams, you have Tim, and you have Reeves on board, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the thing about this, right, and I'll get to this in my review here, right, is that it could have simply been a continuation of the animated series, right? But what it does,
Right. Well, for a couple of reasons why that couldn't happen, but yeah.
all right. Well,
Kind of.
I guess you could address them when you get to the review of it, right? But yeah, but the thing is, as I said, it's a spiritual successor, right? What it does now, while it feels and oftentimes looks like the animated series from before, this actually taps more into the Detective Comics, right? That was the original,
Right.
comic book series where Batman, was birthed from, what was created off of, basically, right? And then also a particular genre that I absolutely love, noir, right? Film noir.
Yeah.
It's like legit film noir, right? So that's basically what it is, right? It's really leaning more towards that genre of film noir, right? So I know people will go into this, and even off the trailers, too, people go into this expecting this to be a continuation of the animated series, but it's absolutely not, right? What it really is just like a really darker and much more edgier compared to what Fox was able to get away
Yep.
with back in '92, right? Yeah, version of that Batman of the Batman, right? But it's in animated form here. It's 2024, so the kind of stuff that couldn't Fox wasn't able to do back in '92, they could do it here now, right? And yeah, in our review we'll talk about whether it worked out for the best or not, right? So we'll get to that in a bit. Yeah, Ricardo, take it away. What was Batman Cape Crusader about?
Sure. Batman Cape Crusader is about Batman, the Cape Crusader. What it does, it takes. So yeah, Matt Reeves is relevant here. Where what I'll say, what Matt Reeves, the Batman, is to Nolan, this is to the Batman animated series. It's really similar. Does a lot of the same things, but then take a couple of little interesting takes and spins and do their own little thing on it. Don't change too much, but change just the small enough of things to make it work, and then do a bunch of allusions to earlier stuff, earlier comics, and then just like a lot of the other ideas of comics that could have been done in TV shows or movies. Like I would have loved to see in terms of involvement. Like Ed Brubaker is involved in this. I'm like, oh shit, Ed Brubaker is one of my favorite Batman guys. Batman artists and writers. So it's like, oh, they get a bunch of great people to come through for this, and basically they just focus on just kind of the first early adventures of the Batman in what is essentially got like how the Batman animated series had it, but it's a lot less sci-fi element, a lot less retro future. It still relies on the Art Deco stuff. Um, they make a lot of interesting calls with respect to like character body types, and they make some changes. And I thought they made something I surprised I never thought about. It's one of those things you kick yourself for not thinking about. But revaluations of a couple characters and what they do with them, and then they just tell the Batman story. But then they just tell detective stories, like just straight up episodic detective content and Batman in this world and what Batman doing. They focus on the corruption, the rise and fall of certain figures and who they are in the context of this world. And yeah, they cook here. This was great. Kind of great. Like I didn't have any major issues with it. They make a lot of really smart calls. Well, I don't want to get into spoilers. We go get into spoiler talk, then fine. I'll say what I thought was a particularly brilliant masterstroke from a character writing standpoint. But also it does Batman in a somewhat regressive sense in terms of his personality. So they lean into the mental health aspects of it, and there's a couple episodes that does a great job with that. And then they just tell a couple of interesting stories and perspectives. And yeah, they just tell, but they tell the classical bits as well, and not too many changes, but still solid changes on its own right, or solid takes. Nothing new or interesting in terms of the main character arc with one certain character, but we see it before, but they still do a decent job with it. All things considered, I felt. Yeah, I kind of love this. It's smart writing. It feels a little amateurish at times. You could tell, like just in terms of the production, it feels a little cheap at times. I heard Zaslav was supposed to scrap this. That's why it's not on Max, which is really weird. Like study that you have a DC comic thing on Amazon, which is ridiculous. That's because Zaslav was going to scrap it, if I remember correctly, and then they decided to put it out, right? And that's unfortunate. But this is really excellent stuff. It's Bruce Timm, just getting another shot at this and making it work from another perspective, and just getting the good voice work, good action, good detectives, and smart calls. And yeah, just one last point, and then you could just probably get into spoiler territory. Actually, the details of the intricacies is that it largely POVs, not from Batman's standpoint, which is really smart. How it's shot and told. A lot of the stories focuses on the other characters. Some people go as far as saying, I don't think that's fair to say, but some people go as far as saying that he's a side character in his own story. With one character, you might be able to say that, but I do agree with that entirely. But that's about it. I kind of love this. I have issues with it. So a couple of nitpicks, but it's more nitpicks, right? But for the most part, I really dug it. It kept my attention. Watched it, binged it pretty much throughout the entire thing. It does 10 episodes?
Yeah.
And yeah, I just did five, and that was it. 5. I just get something to eat, took a nap, get back up, and then the next 5 one time. And yeah, I was digging the hell out of this. I loved it.
All right. Well, I took in about I think I took about the first 2 or 4 episodes one day, and then I just watched the rest the next day. That's how I did it. So I didn't watch it half, one day in, one day out like you, right? So I didn't do that. But yeah, like you, I absolutely enjoyed it, right? Even though I do have a couple of issues with the execution of it as well, but I think for me the best compliment I could give this show is that it is exactly what it says it is. That's really what it is. It's basically again just a spiritual successor to the animated series, but we're not doing the animated series. It works more like
it works more like a spiritual prequel of sorts at times. Like
I was thinking that too, because the joke I make on Facebook, I call this Batman 91, right? Here's the thing, though. Right. Here's the thing about it, right?
It feels like a season zero.
That's right, yeah. Here's the thing,
Yeah.
At times, even though I didn't want to do it, at times I was telling myself, if only this could have been like X-Men 97, like a new season, right? But I do applaud the showrunners for saying, no, we're not gonna do that. It's not like they knew beforehand that Marvel was gonna do X-Men 97. And unless they have contacts in Variety, whatever it is, that say, Marvel doing this, so let's do this.
It have a couple of reasons. It have a couple of reasons why that happened, I don't think.
Right.
First obvious reason is no Kevin Conroy, right?
Right.
They would have been real hard pressed to do it without Kevin Conroy. Sorry. The second thing is that the actual continuity moved on after that show. It had Superman, Batman and Superman Adventures, and then Justice League Unlimited.
Yeah.
And then eventually Batman Beyond. So why would you need more Batman in that time? Because Batman already moved on. So what?
Well,
It's gonna be
no,
him-
I don't mean forward. I'm talking about before, like similar to the Batman. It's as you said, season 0, whatever it is, right? Something like that.
You wanted? Well, okay. So we got that with the movie. That thing, the movie did that. So
Yeah, true.
Mask
Yeah,
of the Phantasm,
exactly.
Mask of the Phantasm kind of did that.
Yes,
so
yes.
unless you wanted like more stories within Mask of the Phantasm time period, in that early time period, and I suppose, yeah, okay.
Yeah. But
Right.
so I was thinking about that. Just kind of subconsciously, right? But to me, that just sort of feels unnecessary, right? Just the idea that I guess that is just a true testament to how great the animated series was, right? Where it's so great that really continuing it or going back to the past really makes no sense. Because we really don't want our fans to think, boy, we really, really scrunted for ideas that we have to make the early adventures of Batman. So before there was the animated series, there's this. Like, no. So they just stuck to their route. It's like, all right, we're just gonna do a version of it, right? But the sell of this one is we're gonna make it really edgy. Well, sorry, we all right. So I keep using the word edgy, right? But in the sense, this is more TVPG than anything else. It's not like really, oh my god, you know what I mean? It's not like that, right? They do consciously, dial things back, so it's not like explicitly violent show, right? But I do applaud them for that, right? But it is compared to the animated series, yeah, they I don't want to say they get away with a lot of things, right? But it is significantly darker and more violent than what we saw.
It really plays into the noir aspect well.
Yes.
Like just the criminality of it, the corruption, they do really well. Like the two Bullock and what's his name, boy? Skaggs. What's his name, boy? Gary Anthony Williams' the voice.
Flash,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Bullock and Flash, great two little side characters. I love how they have them in the world. They were great, like stuff like that. But yeah, it's just the voice work, the materiality of it. But as I said, okay, so just kind of spoilers. I just think it was kind of a masterstroke focusing or having so much of the point of view come from Barbara Gordon and the change they made to Barbara Gordon. I didn't think of that for a second. It's like, oh shit, Barbara Gordon as a defense attorney is like a really brilliant move, though.
Yes,
just change,
it was
small change.
Mm-hmm. And it's something it's something you wouldn't really think about. Yeah, exactly.
Correct. Every time I think of Barbara Gordon, she's either Gordon, snot-nosed kid, and she wanna, fuck around and be Batgirl for some reason, some super dangerous situation, which again is to me always felt silly. Or she becomes a cop eventually, but we don't get to see that. Like in the BTAS, that's what they did. She becomes a cop. She eventually becomes, Commissioner Gordon by Batman Beyond's time. But we don't get to see her career or life as it is. And just putting her in the context of a defense attorney is just really smart. Like it just, I don't know if this is, look, I showed how some comic that did this. So, forgive me for that. But I just didn't think that was a thing and an option as it is. That was just really, really good. And yeah, they make that work. And that just that locus of her and so much of the story focuses in and around that. Because many of the stories is built on that conceit. They focus on like other side characters, like what you call it? What you call she name?
Rennie Montoya.
Montoya, right? Yes. Yeah, Montoya. What they do with Montoya is good stuff. What they do with because there's that episode with Clayface is great.
Yes.
And then they just do small changes and conceits. And I thought, like people try to poison the well about this, but like when they actually reveal it or make do what they did with it, I didn't have a problem with that. So like, yeah, a big change. All this you probably noticed by now. By anybody familiar with the material, what they do with Penguin, right?
Yes. Which I want to get to, because we will mention spoilers, but they will be minor. Not right? But yeah, go on.
And so on and so forth, right? It's just all these little small changes they made. A lot of like just these small changes are surprisingly good, inspired calls. In my humble opinion, right?
Yeah.
Changing Harley Quinn and what they do with that, reframe that. The only thing that was actually kind of shocking is that I didn't know when I heard Diedrich Bader was going to be in this, I thought he was going to be Batman because he voices Batman in
Brave and the Bold, right? I think
Brave and the Bold, right?
Yeah, but they have him as Two-Face though. Like, well, sorry,
that's right. That's Harvey Dent, right? Yeah. That's how we did. And it's like, oh shit, I didn't get it. And it was only when I see the credits, like, oh, okay, that would though.
Yeah.
But yeah, they made all these little small changes. They keep the Black Gordon thing. They have Barbara's presumably mixed race in this. They kept the sexual orientation of both Harley and
Rennie.
Montoya in check.
And the thing is, well, for me, because I'm not familiar with Rennie, right? I do remember her from the Birds of Prey movie, right? But it's only like I was thinking about it, like, Right, it was she was in that film, but she also is this one of the major LGBTQ characters in the
Right, but
Batman comics. Right?
she was in Supergirl as a character, and she had a relationship with the sister.
For the life
So
of
she
me,
was in
I can't remember that. I can't remember that too.
yeah, she was in Supergirl,
All
right?
right.
So, but the characters that's all well established kind of thing. But they had little side, but what they do with it really really cleverly is that they did little side villains that was great. Like the episode with Onomatopoeia was pretty good. I thought that
Oh
was one of the better episodes.
yes. And here's
Yeah,
the thing. Well, forgive me. I am not familiar with that character. Again, I was trying to remember him
he
from
was in
other media.
Superman, the animated. He was in the Superman show.
Oh, okay.
But no, wait. I think it was a woman in that. It wasn't him.
All
It
right.
was that's all. Yeah, he was in Superman show as a woman. I think
All
it was
right.
the fellow wife. It was thing wife.
Okay, but how they
man,
frame him? How they frame him as this
Yeah.
gangster, this gunman? I thought was great. I love the look.
Yeah.
I love how he talks, where it's like bang or beep, beep, beep,
Yeah, it's
like,
onomatopoeia. That's the old
exactly.
point.
Yeah, I thought that was brilliant. It was brilliant. I love that.
Right, no, right. In the Superman show, it was Pia Mannheim. That is what they made onomatopoeia. But in this, they just made him
okay.
a guy again.
All right.
No, but stuff like what they did, I thought it was brilliant is that they had a bunch of like visual allusions to the animated series, which I thought was great. So or earlier stuff. So they had like the episode Killer Face. They had it like I really thought he was going to do Shadow in this, like oh shit, is he Shadow? And it's not the Shadow, but they make an allusion to the Shadow.
I thought that was I saw right. So we minor spoiler here for good folks, right? Yeah, there's a moment where Clayface is escaping and I'm watching the costume he have on, especially the scarf, and I'm
Shadow.
like, dog, this is the Shadow though. Like what?
Yeah, I told you right, but because it have a comic with Batman and Shadow, and in an episode of Batman the Animated Series, it had an episode called Beware the Grey Ghost. Now they do a different thing with Gentleman's Ghost in this, but not that. But in Grey Ghost, it was I think they didn't have the rights of the Shadow to use in the episode, so they end up using a stand-in. I think it was a stand-in. Somebody could correct me on this, but they got the original Batman to voice the role and everything. Like that was a nice little passing torch episode. No?
Okay.
Stuff like that. Yeah, they made a bunch of allusions to the animated series. So there's an episode like the episode with Harley Quinn, where she was hanging off and Barbara was holding her up. That is straight up really similar to how the flashback in Return of the Joker in Batman Beyond, where they had the flashback and you thought she dead and she fall off. Same thing.
Okay.
Really
I forgot about
like that.
Okay, well thank you for pointing
stuff
out.
like that. Yeah. It's all these little small things they made big, but they just tell their own stories in its own right.
Yeah.
It's just really solid character stuff. The episode with Thing, I was actually pretty shocked that they had an outright supernatural episode in it with Gentleman's Ghost. And that's one I end up really enjoying because they tease something with Alfred implied now, so that's going to come back in season 2 hopefully.
Yeah. I am not familiar with that character at all. And here's the thing with me. I even though I may have seen them in a cartoon or two, or maybe if I read them in a comic or two, I don't remember. But it didn't matter. It didn't matter. It didn't take me away from it. I just sort of treated like even the characters that I'm not familiar with at all, like Onomatopoeia, right? I treated it as because it's it's the world of Batman. Yes, these characters were in other media before, right? So case in point, one of my favorite episodes that'll be Nocturne, right? This one involves this carnival, so you've seen all these sideshow characters.
Yeah.
Also, points,
all the kids are Robins.
Points for the Killer Croc cameo. I was like, all right, yes, this is good, right? But have two characters, Dickie, well, they call Dickie, and what's the next one? Oh god.
No, it was only Robins. It was Dick, it was Jason.
Right, Jason, right. Well, right.
Stephanie was there too. And then they mentioned the Glass Girl was that's a Robin in the future. All of them are
okay. I was wondering who that girl with the slingshot was. I wasn't sure, right?
No, that's a girl in the future. That's in Batman oh gosh, I forget your name. When Batman get all bulky in the future. That's Robin in the future.
Dark Knight Returns. The
Dark Knight Returns,
okay.
Yeah.
You see, this is what we're talking about, right? Deep cuts, right? Even the villains, Natalia and Anton, they feel like, although I don't remember them at all from the cartoons, but I feel like they are from the comics. Like one way or the other, they came from the comics. I've never seen them before, but that's one thing I love about the world being set up here, right? Because that even if you're not familiar with a character, it feels like if you this Batman nerd, you'll be like this character was in issue this or comic book that or whatever it is, right? That's the world. I love that. Yeah.
Yeah, but they had like what make it work though is like they had like a outright like they had a straight up I think we call him um Papa Midnight Show up, Judd. I like
Yes,
what?
you know I remember
I
him.
like
You know
I
I
would
actually remember him from, believe it or not, Constantine, the movie.
Constantine. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a magic
Jaimon
character, right?
Hansu. That
Exactly.
was him. I was like,
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, oh shit, I actually remember that.
Yeah, it's a Constantine character, right? He's a known Justice League Dark character.
Oh
They make
right.
that work. So how to describe this show, boy? It's like a good mix between. It's like a little bit of Brave and the Bold and proto BTS, and that's how to think of the show, and that comes together with it. As I said, the main focus is focusing so much on um Barbara. Like I just think it's such a great call focusing on her because so many characters revolve around her, and they make everything like I find one of the good things about the storytelling. Most, if not all of it, is logically like coherent for the most part. Like why a character doing something, why a character would fuck up and make a mistake, how come they decide to turn around, what and who, and both in terms of personal reasons, but also emotional reasons, and the logic of the scenario have to play itself out for the most part. You don't have a big magical storyline; they don't really bother me too much. Yeah, and then they make the working conceit of the corruption in it and how personalities work and so on and so forth. And with Barbara, she works as a great little catalyst to like push the story forward as to why she here, why not, and who she do and who she could talk to and why.
Yeah.
And they just make such a great call with every one of the little script decisions going forward. I just said, yeah, it is really, really good in that way.
Yeah.
It's such a really smart storytelling. And it's the same good world building storytelling that Brewster and them did back in the days, right?
That's right. Yes.
And then we get to the ending. All right, Harley Quinn, the conception of her is kind of pretty good in this, right? What they do is that they put her in a context without the Joker at all.
Yes.
Which is really smart. They make her own villain. That works. It makes a lot of sense why she's the way she is. Her supposed motivations really work. The context of that. And it's a great villain actually. Like what they do with that, and she's a totally Joker-less Harley Quinn, and they make it work. It makes sense. Why they do that? And it's just good conception. You can tell this is probably what they wanted to do back then, and you can feel it. That's what it feel like. It feel like like the show that they wanted to do originally, but they had to change to fit for television, and now they get to do the show they ultimately wanted to do, kind of thing, as a Batman show. Like in some ways, it feels like that. I'm not sure. But yeah, it's stuff like that, right? Because Harley Quinn was invented in Batman the Animated Series, like first appearance of the character, if I remember correctly, and then they bring that back and recontextualize her completely, right? No Joker whatsoever. Although we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
I just thought this show was great. Sorry, your last point.
Right. Well, last points, right? But that's fine though. Yeah. I really dug the supporting characters. What does everybody in general, right? Especially the way how I should say, mad points to Hamish, Linklater for voicing Batman and Bruce Wayne. I think that he's great as Bruce Wayne, right? And it's something we always talk about. Batman sounds one way, but Bruce sounds the other way. Like especially in live action. This minor inflection, though. You know what I mean when it comes to different.
What they make it work? What they make it work is with him is that they have him because he's a lot less mentally stable. They make that work well in terms of the parallels of the other characters, like him versus Harley, him versus Catwoman, him versus they get to the end with him versus Dent, right?
Yes,
and they have some really great moments of them just slipping. Like you have a moment where he asked Bruce talking to Giddy at the end. It's like I think the second to last episode, where he was in the hospital. And he's like, he started talking to him like he's Batman now for 2 seconds.
Yes.
And then he kind of catch back himself, like, all right, this smart, and then they make it work for waiters.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Also, love the pairing with Alfred, right?
Right.
Yeah, and just I really dug how they flesh Alfred as well too, especially with him. Yeah, just dealing with this guy for years, just dealing with Bruce's hang-ups as this billionaire who still can't get over his parents' death. Let's be honest.
Right. No,
and being Batman.
Small change there, right? Small change here. So I don't know if it's probably from the comic somewhere, but yeah, a big body Alfred, right, for the first time. I don't ever remember seeing that.
I don't remember that either, but I don't mind. I actually don't mind that at all.
Yeah, it's a body type. They change character body type. Same thing in Montoya. Body types, everything looking bulky, and because it's all suits anyway. But yeah, small stuff like that really works too.
Yeah, and actually, one of my favorite episodes involving him was Kiss of the Catwoman, right? Because while we've seen all this stuff with Catwoman, you're seeing instead of going back to the same old, this is how Bruce's parents got killed, right? I mean, after BVS is like, all right, I don't need to see this again. I don't need to see the pearls,
right?
Even though the pearls have something to play in this story here, right? I don't need to see the shooting again, right? Well, I think Harley Quinn actually the animated series was the last one to really touch on the deaths, but they did it in a really fascinating way, right? But I like that they frame it from Alfred being his father figure, and especially the ending. I'm not gonna spoil how it ends. I thought the ending was great. It's one of those things that first time you see like, oh, that's how they ended. But now when you really think about it, it's like, nah, that actually makes sense because it's about Alfred in this case, not so much, it's reframing it from Bruce's trauma to Alfred and him having to be this father figure and kind of leaving, almost allowing him in a sense. Allowing Bruce to just do what he wants now, It's
that moment, the moment with the night time when he just wake up and tell him, I got to make them all pay.
Yes.
He just in the room.
That was great. That was great. Yeah. Like talk about the that's like one of the most unique. Oh, this is the moment of clarity where Bruce becomes Batman. I never saw that before, right? Just framing it as him being a kid and making a decision early in his life. It's like, what? Okay, right? That being said, though, just touching on that episode and just leading to one of my issues. I felt that we could have seen more of the villains, right? So whether it's Catwoman, I felt like Catwoman could have had a bigger part to play in the narrative.
Right.
I'll get to a little bit, right?
The episode felt more like a classic BTS episode because they end on a comedy beat effectively with the maid.
Yeah.
And that.
Although that was a nice little twist where you're
it's still funny, but yeah.
Yeah, it means like, you're supposed to pay me for 3 years, so fuck it. I sell everything. I go into the Bahamas, which, I love that. That was cool,
she takes you back pay. Yeah, she takes you back pay and bustle.
Yeah, and I actually like the costume for that. I did not see
the classic Catwoman costume.
I did not see that car coming a mile away. When I see like, whoa, like I legit was shocked though. Like, Catwoman have a car, but I like that. She have this sort of like weird sexualized kind of fandom towards Batman. It's like, oh, look at what Batman's doing. I want to do the same thing too. I like that, right? And also, mad props to Christina Ricci, for voicing. I thought that she did a great job, right? But yeah, I thought she would have come back, but she didn't. I felt we could have had a little bit more of Harley Quinn. Although I like how she was set up there and is actually voiced by McGill Jamie Chung. And I don't mind curvy Asian Harley Quinn. I don't mind that. I don't mind that at all. Like, sweet. But I do like how she is, and it actually remind me a little bit of oh gosh, I forgot is this character who was in the Batman animated series, a show that I still defend. He was the guy who was working in he was like this sort of crazy doctor guy who was working in Arkham Asylum. I forgot his name.
Oh gosh, Hugo Strange.
Hugo Strange, yeah. I was getting that Hugo Strange vibe from her where
exactly. It's very Hugo Strange.
Mental experimentations with all these magicians.
Yeah.
I was getting that vibe. Points for the pudding line. There's a character who says pudding. It's like, all right, Bruce. Bruce Tim, I see what you did there. I know it'll have some people who may not like the outfit for Harley Quinn. I didn't mind it. I thought it was really interesting.
No, it's the same outfit. I mean, they just change the color. But
I find it look different from what we know.
Well, it probably does a different design, but it's just the yellow was the only thing that threw off.
I'll tell you what it is. It looked more medieval. Than the...
it looked older.
Even though the OG Harley Quinn had a medievalish kind of look. Nah, this one felt more medieval, especially with the sort of color thing that she had around her neck. That's very, very, very European, right? That's so to speak, right? Yeah, I don't mind her just being this crazy doctor who just doing all these weird experiments, and that really brought some like genuine like darkness and edginess to that episode, right? I didn't see the ending played out the way it did, but like again, just see how it ended. I was like, but that's it. That's all we really see from her. Okay.
And what make it work too is that they had, again, the side characters are great. So they had like little side villains, like Professor Pig makes a cameo. Like, all right, cool. And Firebug has a little scene that was useful.
Yeah, that Firebug episode I thought was really good though.
It was real dark, but really good though.
Yeah. Just a couple things, just to get on that quickly, right? So yeah, and while I do like the setup the sort of relationship thing that they set up between Harley and Rennie Montoya, I felt they could have done more with it though. Like it sort of starts and okay, you get this moment where they have to kiss, which by Batman animated standards, it's kind of racy, but it's like, all right, that is the nature of the show.
Yeah, well,
I get it. I have no problem.
2024 and it's on. look, it's on the same network with the boys, so whatever.
Thank you. Yeah,
But
exactly.
yeah,
But
it's like I don't know why. This is also post Harley Quinn TV show. Like I don't know why
yeah.
anybody have it. I assume.
Thank you, but I know it might stir some people like like it's
yeah,
like
usual,
it's almost done
brains.
to kind of get a rise out of people. But I don't think I think that
It's usual smooth brains who don't have a job or a life, right? Whatever.
exactly. But I just felt
But the real context.
well, this couple things. I just felt they could have done a little bit more with that relationship because it sort of starts, stops, and then you have and even the ending with her calling back Rennie was fine, but just not enough to say, oh, there was really like a spark going on. Just sort of starts and stops, and that was it, right?
Right.
Yeah.
No, you get to this. Like I don't know if they do too much, but you get a sense of that. Like Montoya pretty lonely, and she don't have nobody, and so on. And they're making that like they try to do something with that, and they kind of know each other from before. But the real thing was the relationship between her and Barbara.
Yes.
Like they're friends, and the context of her, and she used to use her as a useful like thing to deal with criminals, and now that she ended up turning out to be a problem too now.
Yeah.
There's all these little things that just get into Barbara now, and they're making that work.
Yes,
The idea of stress and the real world, all these things just piling up on them now. They where they get to that in the end, and is great. Like where it eventually goes with Harvey is great stuff with her.
Yes.
And keeping her as the focus in that way.
Right.
And then all the little side things they have this fellow Lucius Fox, but he's a lawyer this time.
Yeah, which surprised me. I was like, all right, yeah.
But they have him like a finance kind of guy more than anything. All right, that makes sense too. Like it's just I don't know, it's just a lot of great calls. I think
I would agree.
Really simple calls, but they make it work.
But you're right though in terms of Barbara being so integral to the storytelling here, right? And I do like, even though it is not original as far as Batman lore goes, just framing a majority of just the progression of the story on Harvey Dent, right? And this what he represents, right? Yes, we saw with the Dark Knight movie, we saw it, the idea of corruption and how it works, right? Yeah, somebody, a white knight like Harvey could be corrupted, right? And that's where you're bringing Rupert Thorne and these guys,
in this they did a different job with it, because instead of everybody having hope for Harvey necessarily, like we didn't get that. Like they start off Harvey kind of being an asshole. But the idea is that he's an asshole, but they made a small change. Instead of him being this hopeful, great guy, he's kind of a douche, right? They set him up as a douchebag.
Like dog, that same episode with the carnival thing, the man act like a real ass, sure. Like I didn't watch you, like, bro, like this
and then him going down.
The school teacher asking you to help, asking for help because some kids miss. Is like, well, I'll get to that, like, fucking.
But the thing is, they make it more grimy in the sense that, him being even, he had to sell it by Tom because he was going to lose the election anyway, and so on and so forth. Like, I find they made a lot of great, like, smart, again, more grounded calls, right? As it is. And then even Batman's relationship in terms of his relationship to violence, like, they have Batman kind of using a gun, but for different reasons and not where you think it is. And
as you say that, I love in the finale where he could have shot Flassino. He was about to do it, and they hear the shots go off, and I legit like, boss, don't tell me the man killed Flassino. And I realized, no, all these shots kind of was by his head, and he angrily, I love this, he angrily throws the gun into the river. I love that.
Yeah, they do that same, that concept of it. So that his trauma and how they play in the trauma is not the same like the BCS show now.
Yeah.
And that's what I like about this is that they made a lot of these plausible calls. Again, much like how Matt Reeves' movie was, different, not Nolan, but different, but it did doing its own thing.
Right.
This just did that.
Just a couple more things and then we wrap up, right? So
last point on the end.
Right.
Yeah.
So Bullock and Flass, love those characters. I love the dynamic. Very Norrish, it's just these hardened cops who, will just break the law just to get by with them. Just to get by, right? And boy, props to Flass's like tailored, like that outfit.
On
point though. There's the blue though. I was like, all right, that real hard, right? That being said though, that's just another,
which is a good line to illustrate, the corruption. It's like, you affording this on a cop salary kind of thing.
Yeah, this man dressed like a player. This is your outfit though, right? But but for me though, again, this is what I said before. Even though I do like that the show was centered on the eventual corruption of Harvey, right? How he eventually becomes Two-Face, right? And represents, what the overarching theme of this whole season was that's how scummy Gotham is, and boy, why come here for? Why couldn't I just bust out earlier on and all that kind of stuff, right? You know what I mean? That was all cool, but I felt like you could have had like a couple other villains, come to that same point too, now, right? So I'll throw an example and then you wrap up. Penguin, yeah, or I should say,
Right.
Oswalder, yeah, Oswalder Couplepot, right? Yeah, she in the first episode though, like I thought that she was going to be like the main villain, but actually, yeah, just this was a disappointment to me. Yeah, she was only in one episode. I was like, what?
Right.
Like she had a gun. She literally had a gun that could, like on a boat, on a ship. And she ended up blowing up the police department. Just I thought like, okay, she's gonna be like a big deal going forward. It's like, no, we don't really see her again, right? But I know there will be people that will go on there and be like, oh, see what you do with the gender swapping thing. I actually have no problem with Oswaldo Copperpot.
I don't think it's to be honest, I don't think it's a necessary change. It is a change that works. Like they don't like bottom it one way or the other. And when they reveal like wow, her true nature and how vicious she is, like it still works because she's just real vicious. So it's like
moment
it's still Penguin.
Yeah, how she get rid of one of she's sons, just like okay, right? But yeah, I mean, a part of how
they reference that later. Remember when Batman is underwater and you see him like a open suitcase and a skeleton.
Yes.
Although it shouldn't be a skeleton, but I don't know how much time passed.
You're right. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, but I mean, as admittedly curvaceous as Oswaldo was, I mean, yes, I was like, kind of down bad on she at times though. But yeah, I do like how vicious she was. She is that legit penguin that we know and love, right? But I didn't mind the gender swapping thing there, but I know. Yeah, for some people, especially with that being in the first episode, be like, oh, you see the type of show this is? Not for me. But nah, at the end of the day, just to wrap things up, this really feels like a labor of love. It feels like it came from people who know this character, who loves this character, who loves the world of Gotham, as scummy as it is, and, its major players and all that kind of stuff, and still found ways to make this show, to make the world of Batman feel fresh and contemporary as well too, right? Even with its 30s and 40s noir settings and all that kind of stuff, right? And by the way, love the noirish vibe of the show, even right down to the theme song and how it's all set up there. That music, it takes a while to grow in here, but when it gets here, it's like, yeah, it works, right? I really, really dug that, right? So yeah, this for me kind of feels like it feels like the BTS show, that the BTS revival that we didn't know we wanted, but we kind of needed. That's how it feels like. Like, we could we still to this day we could always put BTS.
Yeah, it's not as good as BTS.
Yeah,
it's not as good as BTS. I don't think it's as good as BTS.
Well, that's the point. But it's still not as good, right? So we could still put
but it does its own thing.
Yeah, that is still number one top standard, right? But this one feels like, okay, we're gonna take what was good about that. But we can't go back to 92, folks. We can't do that, and we're not even gonna try. So no, folks, this is not X-Men 97. No, it doesn't need to be. But this is just a reminder of why this character works, right? Even to this day, even though we work it with sort of like a retro noir kind of vibe too, there are still a lot of elements in the world of Batman that that adds his legacy, and this is what this show is about, right? So yeah, at the end of the day, it is what it is, and I can't fault it for that, right? So for me, rating wise, strong 4 out of 5. I absolutely enjoyed this show, even though I had nitpicks with just again, I felt like we were seeing familiar villains, but it could have done more of the villains, so I felt we could have seen more of Harley. Yeah, it's ironic that I have to say this about the female villains, right? Yeah, I felt we could have saw more of Catwoman and of Harley and of Oswaldo, right? Penguin, right? I felt we could have seen more of that. And it still could have been about Harvey's descent into corruption. It still could have been about that. It still could have been about Barbara Gordon's place in the world as far as, being this upstanding, upstanding citizen and all that kind of stuff, right? Justice and all that kind of stuff. It still could have been about that, But I felt we could have seen more of the villains that we know and love instead of just focusing everything on Harvey's downfall, right? But yeah, that being said, the animation was solid. Yes, there are a few instances where I felt they could have kind of tweaked things, especially when characters run. It's like, oof, could have did it a little bit better. Or like certain fight scenes, it's like, oof, could have done this a little better too, right? But it's still well done though. In terms of the music, the voice acting is fantastic. And last point I'll make though, one thing I have to give credit to the show here for, it's how tight these stories are. These stories run, or I should say episodes run for like about 23, 24 minutes roughly. And
yeah,
there's little to no fat in each of these 10 episodes. So I just
that's the
watching
main
this,
thing.
like, boy, just what I mean in terms of tightness, right? Just the scene will play, characters will say what they say what they have to say, but it doesn't feel too long or too short. It feels appropriate. It feels as long as it needs to be. They get to the point, boom, onto the next scene. Boom, onto the next scene, right? It may feel a little short for some people, but I feel like, okay, we just need to get to the point of the scene and then we move on. I felt like each and every scene played out exactly like that in each and every episode of this, right? So yeah, I was impressed by this nonetheless, and I have a feeling, and yeah, well, I mean, a season 2 has already been greenlit, so yeah, if Bruce and his team keep things up, well, I should say Bruce Reeves and Tim Reeves and Abrams just stick to this to this formula here. I call this now. This could be another BTAS. This could be another one in the making here. So, hey, sky's the limit here. But yeah, this is a solid start, man, to what I hope will be a great Batman animated series, man. So yeah, Ricardo, your final thoughts on it?
Yeah, I dug the hell out of this. I agree with you. It's really smart. It really works as a BTS season 0 almost. It just they do this grounded stuff. It's the Ed Brubaker stuff. Very noirish. They lean into that really smart. You really get a good sense of Gotham being just. What's cool about it? It doesn't have too many sci-fi elements, even though it has the supernatural elements. But they really feel like Batman. Everything feels workable, grounded with Batman and what he's doing, and it really feels like a new take on the earlier comics. For example, little simple things like the car. The car looks like basic, and that is a good call. Like stuff like that. And they make it work for what it is. Not flashy at all, and I think that's the intention. My only complaint, well, I don't know how I feel about it because I find for what it was a pretty cool scene. The final scene, right? The post credits kind of postscript stuff. Yeah. So Joker, reveal the Joker. We don't get to hear him too much. Just a little look, just one line. Okay. I mean, I want to see what they're gonna do with it. All right. Not super excited for that, to be honest. I want to mind seeing a Jokerless Batman narrative and see how that works, because sticking to like the corruption and the mobster stuff and Torn and that kind of stuff does make it work.
Yeah,
and the last time I complained about that.
But that's the weird thing about the character of Joker is one of those characters that they kind of need in the Batman. But I hope in the case of this show, they find a way to make it less predictable. Like, he's supposed to be the mad prince of crime.
The last time.
So I hope they do something different.
The last time I complained about this was seeing that Joker card at the end of Batman Begins. And, we kind of get a masterpiece after that. So, we go see. That's all I'll say. Right? That's how I feel about that. So, I still wanted to see, Batman versus Thorn. Like, that final, clash with each other at the end. And that's good stuff. I want to see that. Like,
and of course, the final shot. Yes, that's for the fans. I don't mind that. I don't mind that. That was great.
Yeah, when he liked it and everything.
Yeah,
hard.
That was hard.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with that, right? You look hard. But yeah, that's it. This was, I can't go in good conscience call it a masterpiece or anything like that, but it's just really, really conscientious and well thought out. You could tell that they stay down with it. Just again, tight scripts, making it work. And yeah, I really want to get more of this going forward. So yeah, I hope we get season 2 soon enough. I loved it. Probably gonna make best of the year. Most like it.
Yeah, most likely you'll make mine as well, right? But just letting you know, one time, folks. I kind of put X-Men 97 over this. Don't get mad.
Yeah. Like, I don't think
it's two different shows. It's two different shows, but for me, X-Men 97 took all right, so I'll close this, right? While we do praise Cape Crusader, right? I feel like X-Men 97 took a much bigger risk by saying, look, we're going to continue this show, we're going to continue this thread, but we're still going to update things in ways that you didn't expect, and we're going to progress the stories in ways that you didn't see coming. This one feels like we're going back to basics, right? We're going back to
that reset. Yeah, exactly.
We're going back to that noir genre. So if you love noir, you're gonna get that noir goodness and whatnot. We're gonna make a few changes to it, but nothing too spectacular that'll make you like go nuts, right? So like stuff like changing Penguin's gender. I mean, come on, man, that's nothing, right? But whatever. They've been doing that in comics for decades, though, right? Well, especially in DC Comics, right? They've been doing that for decades, so that's nothing, right? But yeah, you know what I mean. So still, long story short, I would put X-Men 97 over this, but just keep in mind, folks, we know there are two different shows, so it's just a matter of opinion. But yeah, your quick thoughts on that, and then we move on.
Yeah, and I'd really compare it, but yeah, I prefer X-Men 97 to this. I wasn't waking up, as I say, I binge it, but I wasn't like super hyped every week. I suppose if this came out every week, I would probably not like this as much. Yeah, you sit down and binge it. As I say, I'm glad it wasn't scrapped and it didn't fall victim to David's ass laugh. I just, just solid outing. Yeah, I'm glad we have it. Great.